John Miller has been talking with his law enforcement and security forces and joins us now. And this is the thing, John Miller. Hello, good to see you.
Good morning.
You know, I'm a very nervous flyer. When I get on the flight, I look at all the passengers, I look at the exit, I imagine scenarios in my mind. I have never thought about the captain. This is a headline, "This is your captain freaking." Only the New York Post could write a headline like that. And I'm thinking, what now will the FBI do to deal with this incident? It's so frightening.
What they've been doing all night long, I mean, starting through midday yesterday, was, that's a very small office, Amarillo. So that's a 4-man FBI team that responded directly to the airport. And then with a lot of help from the Amarillo police, because they had more people, they separated the 130 passengers and crews. They got everybody's statement. They documented that. And they have a way to reach back to all those people. That was a critical first step. But the rest of the night was figuring out who are this captain's friends, his family, who is his physician, where is his drugstore. In other words, trying to put the answers to those questions. The first thing you would do is ask him, the captain, in an interview on the way to Northwest Hospital. But the people I spoke to last night said on the way to the hospital, at the hospital, he remained incoherent. So at some point they had to back off and let the doctors do their thing to the point that he'll be a viable interview.
That he was speaking gibberish. You know, it's one of the things that you just don't think that the captain, and not to make light of it, could go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But when you listen to the passengers who were talking about it, one woman said, "I wanted to run, I didn't know where." I love the New York guy who said, "I just don't have time for this today." I think only a New Yorker would say something. I don't have time for this today. Do pilots go through psychological training?
They go through psychological testing. They go through drug testing, both random for cause and on suspicion. They have to go through, if a once-a-year physical and qualify, and if they're over 40, that becomes once every 6 months. So, I mean, the medication issue here is going to be a critical question, which is, if he was on it, was it reported in the physical? And if it wasn't reported in the physical, is even that a violation of law?
From what you've heard, I mean, you mentioned people that you spoke with say even on the way to the hospital he was incoherent. I know you spoke to the head of JetBlue security this morning. Was there any indication as to when this started? Were there any signs that we know of before the cockpit door was originally closed and he was sitting there with the co-pilot?
Well, I think that you take a look at the co-pilot's actions here. I mean, this is actually, here is a guy who realizes this guy is acting abnormally, his physical mannerisms, the things he's saying. This is a couple hours into the flight, and this has been building. And he very calmly convinces him to go out of the cockpit. He says, why don't you, splash a little water in your face in the men's room. And then he locks the door, figures out the deadhead pilot, gets him up there. They change the combination on the door. So there's a lot of thinking on your feet that's going on with that co-pilot who managed to not get in an argument or challenge this guy, but actually diffuse the incident.
The two things I don't understand, one is, what was the conversation in the cockpit with the co-pilot?
Okay, so the conversation in the cockpit is recorded.
Right.
And that lives in the black box. That's not something that they just whip out and play back. It has to be processed through a system. And that is one of the critical things they're going to be looking at today. Because what the FBI needs to find out now is everything they can about this guy and what could have caused this, either physiologically, mentally,
Don't they know a little bit of that by now, John? I mean, the FBI is the FBI. They know how to find out why the behavior of somebody and if they have a medical history and that kind of stuff.
The issue here is it's not a yes or no answer. It's one of those things where, does he have a wife over here? Does he have a cousin in Arkansas? Is there a friend that he talks to in Chicago? And that means leads are sent out, and even at 3 o'clock in the morning, they'll knock on that door and answer it. But the other question is, to what end?
Right.
So what does the U.S. attorney want to know this morning when they say, are we filing a federal criminal complaint for interfering with a flight crew?
What are the possible charges that he may be facing?
That would be it, the federal charge of interfering with a flight crew. And as Lee pointed out, this would be the first time in known history that the pilot in charge has been charged federally with interfering with his own flight. But the U.S. attorney is going to want to know, was this behavior? Was this chemically induced? Was this medically induced? Was this... They're going to want to know, before I take this charge to a court or ever a jury that's going to say, well, the guy had a problem. There was no criminal intent here. What did they put together on that story? And I got to close with this. The FBI doesn't operate the way we operate. We operate at the hysterical pace of the very next deadline. We need to know now, and we need it all. The FBI will go through this in a very methodical way, and they will figure out what leads take them to other leads till they have enough.
They don't want to say something they'll regret later.
They're going to, when they present it to the prosecutors are going to have more questions, and they're going to get the answers to those. So we could see a charge today based on a probable cause arrest, or the U.S. attorney could defer until they know more.
Not a good time for JetBlue. Flight attendant, now the captain. Yikes. Thank you, John. Thank you.